guys. So, in the big picture, in my view, things continue to just get worse and worse. And when I say worse, I'm not talking about my perception based on my standing. That is oftentimes what people mean when they say that. But I'm talking about the big picture. I'm talking about most people, their plight, and especially the plight of people who are sort of like in the worst possible scenario. And I think a decent chunk of the blame, if you want to call it that, lies at the feet of what is socially acceptable, what is considered good and bad regarding our perception of how we handle these things. So let's use Gaza as an example. Gaza is, again, you like there's this common bullshit journalistic fucking spinning that happens where they try to make you believe that October 7th is the beginning of everything. Like this is where it all began, which of course paints Palestinians, or not even Palestinians, but particularly Hamas, as the the ones who started it all. Not true. Like not even close to true. Um, Facts matter, and just believing whatever you want to believe because it happens to fit your narrative, that just makes you an idiot, and it also makes you a a sort of useful idiot in terms of you then become like a mouthpiece for these people who are obviously trying to twist shit for fucking sinister ends, and you're part of that. I'll get into more on that in a moment. But unlike many times in the past where genocides were carried out, this one is live fucking streamed essentially. It's right in front of us. You can't run from it. You can't act like you don't know what's going on. You know. You may not want to know, and you may decide that you don't want to dig further. That just makes you a bad person. That makes you selfish. I am constantly given this bullshit. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. Not true. So, what we do is we frame things in a very black and white way. We go, can I single handedly completely solve this problem if no one else were assisting at all? And that's like one extreme irrational way to look at it. And then there's the uh, just not giving a shit at all, just not doing anything, whatever. But the truth is, there's a fucking shit ton of gray in there. So when you tell yourself, there's nothing I can do, look at it literally. Is there nothing you can do that might impact the situation? So we've seen throughout history multiple times, insane number of times, when people get pissed off and they refuse to stand for something, it gets shit done. Instead of viewing it as like this huge, like, again, black or white type thing, look at what you can do that might in any way, not just directly, physically, boots on the ground, in any way affect the situation. And if you do so and you come away with, there's nothing I can do, you're either stupid or you're lying to yourself. Or you might actually just know you're lying and be lying to others. And the truth is, you just don't give a shit. And if so, then fucking be honest and say, hey, I'm a piece of shit. Look at me. I'm a piece of shit. I don't care. Um, so just stating your mind about how it's fucking wrong what Israel's doing, which objectively it is, if you have actual accurate information and you're not being lied to, which is another problem, then you're going to say that's wrong. It's absolutely, like, without a doubt, obvious, clear as fucking day, wrong. But where was I going with that? Completely lost my train of thought. I guess I'll get into the overarching point that I was making. So, the very act of stating your opinion, especially if you do so publicly, everyone has the ability in this day and age to make public statements. You can use Facebook, YouTube, fucking Twitter. The sky's the limit. We have more access to quick social shit and information than ever before in history. I can't do anything is a lie. Now, it might be true that you feel like you're not doing enough. That's fine. But the logical, like, reaction to feeling like you're not doing enough is to do more. Not go, oh, I feel bad because I'm not doing anything. I'm sort of like on the wrong side of history here. So I guess my reaction will be to shut down and just distract and, like, become like a consumer robot that just fucking is like a hamster on a treadmill and does absolutely nothing, says absolutely nothing. Even if you're going to go to the point of saying, like, well, I feel like I shouldn't say anything because this is a highly divisive topic and it could become dangerous. So, one, there's a lot of people that are stating the fucking facts, that are out there telling the truth and just calling this what it is, a fucking genocide, and they're not dead. Two, even if it was a serious danger, all that means is that you it's just pure selfishness. It's like, this tiny percentage chance that I might endanger myself and others around me for stating this view, that it's making like a mathematical, like, value judgment. It's that I am more important than insane numbers of children getting fucking blown up and sniped purposefully. I shouldn't need to explain why that's fucking wrong. So that's just one example. Then there's fucking fascism taking root all over the world. Like, fucking Putin has been in place for a long time, and he's been pushing a sort of veiled fascism for a while. Well, some things is veiled and some things he's just direct about. But I guess rather than specifically fascism, let's go with authoritarianism in general. And then you've got fucking Modi of India. You've got Trump, of course. And there's little pockets that it's like growing. And of course, they lean on each other and try to bolster one another. And of course, the United States plays a massive role in the world. With Trump in office and him fucking supporting all of these would-be dictators, it's becoming increasingly more important for decent people that understand what's going on, that actually give a shit, to fucking stand up and try to do something. With that being said, we can look through history and see that, like, similar things have happened, and almost always they end with some form of revolution or violent uprising. Now, this becomes difficult to talk about. The reason why is because you have presuppositions about these topics, and you go, that's wrong. No, it's not. And we have to stop thinking like this if you don't want the fucking world to go straight to shit and fucking everyone basically becomes fucking slaves. That might sound like uh, an exaggeration, but it's not that far fetched. People have already been losing freedom and autonomy and like very quickly all over the fucking world. And if it's not about dictators, it's about fucking elites wanting more and more and more. Just greed. And greed doesn't just like it isn't just like people like to see it like it only affects that person, and even sometimes that it can be beneficial, which is absolute horseshit. That's the neoliberal fucking brainwashing that got pushed for a while, especially under Reagan. And we have to actively fight against this shit. So people will look at it like, yeah, it's unfortunate, and then kind of like essentially shrug their shoulders. Me personally, I don't give a fuck what you say. Not at least, not nearly as important as what you do. And also, a statement that I made before, and I stand by it. What makes a person good is not only their actions, but what they don't do. And that should be obvious. Again, I go back to the fucking shallow pond example. If there's a child drowning in a shallow pond, and the only thing that you have to give up of any moral significance is, as an adult at least, you have to get your pants muddy, and you don't do it, you're rightfully considered a piece of fucking garbage. Because that's what you are, objectively, if you were to just be like, I don't want to get my pants muddy. And then the child drowns. There's no difference between that and all of these tons of other examples of things that we don't think about, that we just go, well, it doesn't make me a bad person because it's not my responsibility. The way you even conceptualize the concept of responsibility is a factor in whether or not you're a good person. Good people don't need to be told that it's their responsibility. They don't need justification. They don't go like, I mean, it's not my place to deal with this. That in itself makes you not a good person. Like, this is so simple. Yet no, it seems like very few people fucking take the time to fucking think it through. So, on one side, we've got corrupt dictators and leaders that would like to be dictators. You've got corporate interests that are greedy and just want to fuck over the mass majority of people for their benefit. They are willing, and we see this daily, you can't deny it. They are willing to do just about whatever it takes to succeed. And they have a lot of power. A lot of power. So if you give a shit and you want the world to be a better place, you don't have many options. You can't do what, I mean, they mean well, but people try to just simply, I don't know, they just go like, let's draw attention to this and shame on you guys. Like, you should be shamed. That does absolutely nothing to a person that's a fucking sociopath. They just smirk. They don't give a fuck what you think. So, looking at it realistically, in order to combat people who have absolutely no, they have no shame in terms of just doing absolutely vile shit that fuck over everyday people to benefit them, you have to fight fire with fire. We will never get anywhere going, that's a shame. We need action. And that is why, and a lot of you are gonna, or I think a lot of you will be like, oh my God, that's extremist. It's not, if you actually break it down logically. Some, not all, some of the what we label terrorists of like Islamist groups are actually, they get it. They actually fucking understand. They're not just fucking wording fucking useless platitudes for social currency to act like they're decent people. And this is why I said I don't give a fuck what you say. Why? Because what you say can be fucking bullshit. It happens all the time. You get these like billionaires that talk about like I feel like I've got to do the greater good, and I've got to get involved in philanthropy, and then you come to find out they're only wealthy because they fuck people over, and then they give a tiny little portion back, and then stupid people look to them like, oh, they're such great people that, they didn't have to give that. Like, they're fucking using you. They're making you look like idiots, and you don't get it. I had a point there, and I kind of got off on a tangent again. So, how you fight, whatever it is, has to change depending on the abilities, power structure, uh, like media fucking, how do I put it? The amount that they can control media and manipulate it to their ends. Like, there's so many things you have to factor. And you have to take in all of those factors. And then you have to say, in order to win this battle, what needs to be done? And if your answer is, we need to tell them that they should be ashamed of themselves, if that's your answer, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. That is stupid. If you're going to fight people who have absolutely no, they give no fucks. We're dealing with people who were like implicated in literally a fucking, what once was a fucking crazy conspiracy of like important like world leaders and other like big business people involved in like pedophilia. At one point, that was a conspiracy theory. We now know that's no longer a theory. It's a fucking fact. It happened. These are the type of people we're dealing with. And at least one is fucking leader of the fucking free world. That's the situation we're in. We have to stop with this belief that if you do something that would otherwise be considered negative if it were done in different contexts, that it's still negative if you do so with good intent. That is bullshit. It's the only way that we ever fucking win. You have to be willing to, at least to some degree, you have to sink to their level. It's unfortunate, but it's the only fucking way. For the long term anyway. There's been like periods where like we'll make a little progress and then they fight back and then they happen to be on top again. Usually they stay on top more than they're not. But it's just a constant like fucking tug of war back and forth. And almost always in the end, evil triumphs. Do you know why? Because they're willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to get what they want. And that puts a huge disadvantage on the people who are actually good. You are already, it's not like a race to where you both start at the fucking start line and you're racing to the finish line. They already have a fucking advantage. They're like halfway there already when you're starting at the fucking starting line. You have to be willing to do what they're willing to do. Now, this will go back to people like Che Guevara. So, capitalists and the West in general have done everything they can to destroy his name, what he fought for, and what he did. But in all truth, like, there's all sorts of shit that gets spread about him, that he was an extreme racist, that he was homophobic, that he just loved murdering people. The evidence actually does not bear any of that out. It's all propaganda. It's complete bullshit. So I could go into detail about that another time, but it's really not the subject here. But the point is, he fucking understood. And that is where I'm going with, like, these fucking Islamic groups. Not all, but some of them. And their realization that these groups of people that are like peacefully protesting, do you know how the powers that be view those protests? Well, they can get it out of their system, and they're speaking their truth to power, so to speak. And tomorrow they'll hang up the towel, and won't be a problem. And if anything, if it continues, they'll just protest again. And the powers that be lose nothing. They don't care. It does nothing. So this is just one example, but I like to use it for the whole point that I'm making now, and that's bullies. So you have to gauge intent here. I believe very strongly that the best thing we can do to combat bullies is to beat the fuck out of those bullies. Because that's the language they understand. That's how they view the world. It's the only way to reach them. Force. So again, we have this view. If you beat up a bully, you're no better than they are. That is factually, objectively bullshit. Even if you believe that violence in of itself is wrong, and I would say that you probably don't completely believe that, because most people believe that there's a time and a place for violence. If you're fighting for something that's important, for example, or you're defending yourself, that's still violence. So this automatic, like, knee-jerk reaction to things about right and wrong needs to change, because more people need to be willing to do what is necessary for good to triumph. I am more and more in favor of a sort of aggressive altruism. Now, I've also sort of thought about more of like a militant altruism. I guess it's not that important how we phrase it, but militant altruism is like considered sort of an oxymoron. Like, it seems like it's two things that like are complete opposites, and you're trying to put them together. They're not. And it goes back into the point that I'm making: intent. Violence itself is not bad. Intent behind violence can be bad. A bully is a piece of shit, not because he's engaging in violence. He's a piece of shit because he's engaging in violence to bolster his own perceived power, or to, you could go into like dealing with trauma, whatever. But the point is, there's no positivity in that. They're a piece of shit. A person who beats the hell out of a fucking bully, their intent is to teach the bully a lesson, which I would wager is one of the only things that actually works that you can do. And everything I'm talking about goes right back into this same principle. If you are principled and like you hold yourself to a high standard of like these are the rules that you engage by, but your opponents don't abide by those same rules, you lose. You fucking lose. You need to think of these tactics as tools, not good or bad in of themselves. What makes anything good or bad is the intent behind using said tools. If I decide that I don't know, there's like I can't think of a good example, and I hear some cats distracting me too. So negative reinforcement is absolutely required to combat pieces of shit. They're everywhere. We live in a culture that fucking celebrates them. So you have like CEOs that take like that make like say 300 or more times that of their employees. They should be considered pieces of shit. That's not a bad thing. You should directly call them garbage, scum of the earth. Everyone should. Their own employees should. Although that one's a little more difficult because then you end up running the risk of getting fired and all that stuff. But other people that don't run into that risk, you have no fucking reason not to. And not doing so makes you part of the problem. Because your actions can do something. Maybe it won't solve it all on its own, but it can do something. So quit saying there's nothing I can do. That's a fucking lie. I believe we need something like what I'm proposing, a sort of aggressive altruism, because it's the only fucking way. We've slipped too fucking far. If you want even the slightest fucking chance of success, you have to start now. What do you want to like wait another 10 years where Congress is bought off, the president's bought off, and well, hell, in this case, the president is no different than the people who are buying off the fucking politicians. But do you want like 5-10 years for them to gut like the ability for like anyone to even do anything, where they have like unchecked power, and then there were people before me. There were people before I've said anything that were calling way early on, we have to fucking take this seriously now. And as time goes on, it turns out they were right. And we're losing the ability to fight back with the mechanisms that are available to us because they are slowly being dismantled. So if you wait and wait and wait, and we have less methods of attack, then essentially extremism is the only thing left. All that it takes for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. And now we still have at least some chance. Well, there's always some chance. It's just a matter of what you're willing to do in order to get what you want. Or yeah, in this case, it's what we want, but it also happens to dovetail nicely with the greater good. That's the important thing. So we should, to some extent, we're fighting decades of propaganda, brainwashing, like gutting of education, making it to where it's more and more difficult to fucking fight this problem, these problems. We have to be willing to use any means at our disposal to fucking win the good fight. Period. It's really simple. You there's no limit. So of course, the amount of force should be, what's the word, comparable to the, I don't know, like it's sort of like punishment should fit the crime type idea. Like if a CEO is trying to like make more money, like I'm not saying just immediately go like, oh, trying to make more money, let's put a bullet in his head. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. We should fight according, we have to be willing to do whatever it takes to win, but not like escalation 10 times above what's necessary to get the job done. But what's being done now, obviously and clearly, is not working. And that's why you can't ask for shit. They're not going to relinquish power. You have to take it. And what we really need is for enough people to matter to be persuaded that this is what this is the time. We need it right now. And the longer you fucking wait, the harder it's going to be to accomplish what we need to accomplish. So in what I was saying about like you have to be willing to meet them like on their level, let's, for example, hypothetically, say there's like a massive like billionaire that is taking people like myself that are like trying to like spread a message to get people up in arms to actually do something about these problems. And they're just, let's say, hiring hitmen to take them out. Then we have to be willing to fucking escalate from that point. You can't cow down. Otherwise, the whole fucking game's over. They're not going to stop. Greed has no fucking limits. They want more and more and more. And they will happily take whatever we fucking don't fight for. So if they are willing to, again, this is not like I'm not claiming this is happening. If it were to get to that extent, then we have to go, okay, we don't have the funding to like pay for hitmen, for example, but we need to be willing to do whatever it takes to eliminate the billionaires who are doing so. Whatever it takes is what is required to win a war. And make no mistake, this is a war. I'll have a lot more on this. This is a very broad sort of thing, and I have a lot of shit that I want to cover on it, so I'll probably jump more into it later. But this is the gist of it. Thank you for your time.